Hello everyone, welcome to the first ever virtual investor event for Hanon Systems. I am Jeongwan Shin, Head of IR at Hanon Systems. On behalf of the entire executive team, thank you for joining, and we hope all of you remain safe and healthy. We look forward to the future when we can talk and share in person. Today, I am delighted to be joined by members of the executive leadership team in speaking order. Mr. Noodle Kuchukaya, President and Representative Executive Officer, who is connecting from our Europe Innovation Center in Cologne, Germany. Mr. Stephen Clark, Vice President and Chief Technology Officer. Mr. Min-seok Sung, Executive Vice President and Representative Executive Officer. And Mr. Subu Nagasubramani, Vice President and Chief Financial Officer. Today's event will have 4 sessions followed by Q&A. This presentation material is now online in the company's website, hanonsystems.com. I would like to remind you that today's event will contain statements that are forward-looking based on our predictions and expectations as of today. As such, all statements are subject to certain factors, risks, and uncertainties that may cause our actual results to be materially different from those expressed in today's presentation. The first session will feature Mr. Kuchukaya, who will outline the growth of Hanon Systems in the electric vehicle era. He is followed by our CTO, where Mr. Clark will discuss the acceleration of our technology leadership, particularly in the EV thermal system space. Then we will move to the third session, where Mr. Min Sung will discuss EV-related capacity expansion and the transformation of our global operations following the acquisition of the ENFB business. Finally, our CFO, Mr. Nagasubramani, will present third quarter results and midterm financial guidance. Without further delay, let's get started. Mr. Kuchukaya, please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Noodle Kuchukaya, and I am President and Representative Executive Officer of Hanon Systems. Having spent my whole professional career in the automotive industry, I have come to live and breathe the exciting world of thermal management systems for over 2 decades now. And so it gives me great pleasure to show you in this following part of the presentation the position of Hanon Systems in the dynamic world of electric vehicles and its thermal management. Since the introduction and rise of automotive thermal management systems, or historically called air conditioning systems, around the beginning of the new century, the market has only seen a couple of viable suppliers, which have been capable of providing more or less complete thermal system solutions. And as marketplace consolidations have continued in recent years, in which we also played a part by acquiring the Fluid and Pressure Controls division from Magna, we are happy to see that among the remaining strongest 4 players, we hold a stable number 2 position. Having come from a history of relying on just 2 core customers, the Hyundai Motor Group and Ford, we did see the need to diversify our customer base. And so we set ourselves a clear goal and implementation strategy to enhance our customer diversification. Today, I am proud to say that the customer base of Hanon Systems shows a good mix across all global regions, encompassing volume leaders such as the VW Group, General Motors, and the Fiat Chrysler PSA Group, as well as technology leaders such as BMW, Daimler, and Jaguar Land Rover, and emerging vehicle firms such as NIO and Xiaopeng. And while doing so, the company has managed to sustain an excellent financial track record, and I expect it to continue doing so despite the recent headwinds from the COVID-19 crisis. Before I go into the trends, let me comment that the change of the automotive industry has gained significant momentum, triggered by the Dieselgate scandal and the following stagnation of the diesel technology. Just to give you a little bit of statistics, in July of this year in Europe, the monthly registration of electrified vehicles exceeded those of diesel cars for the very first time. Now, the automotive thermal market currently is driven by 4 key trends. The first being the driving range and overall costs of battery electric vehicles. Having products which address this trend will clearly help the global propagation of electric vehicles across the globe. In close connection to this, but also due to the ever more stringent becoming environmental regulations, the search and introduction of alternative refrigerants is continuing. I will elaborate more on this in a moment, but allow me to say here that Hanon Systems is on the forefront of introducing R744 in the automotive marketplace. Also regarding the next trend, the growing attention towards hydrogen propulsion or fuel cell vehicles, Hanon Systems very early on has supported applications with this technology. Intra-city pollution and the recent COVID-19 crisis have significantly enhanced the public interest in cabin air quality, a field in which our VR LED photocatalyst technology will come to play. Let me now use a couple of minutes to dive into the long-standing history of Hanon Systems in developing thermal management components and systems. I can look back on over 2 decades of conceptualizing and implementing product solutions that address the needs of automotive customers to meet the trends like the ones I just showed you in the previous slide. So let's start with the green section, the heart of any thermal system in electrified vehicles, the e-compressor. As early as in 2000, certain OEMs and ourselves already anticipated that the transmission belt would not be around forever. In the years to come, our Generation 1 e-compressor was used by over 10 customers for their initial electric vehicle concepts, with serial production starts as early as 2010. And in 2013, the Generation 3 design was introduced with significantly more volume, followed by the enhanced Generation 4 design in 2019. Next year, we will launch the next generation of e-compressors, adhering to higher voltage level demands and larger displacement requirements. Since we talked about the R744 refrigerant already, let me draw your attention to the orange section, where you can see that we already worked on an R744 e-compressor since 2005, clearly leading the efforts at that time. Together with our successful efforts of addressing the leakage requirements of our R744 system via our PACE award-winning metal seal fittings, we are proud to launch the R744 compressor amongst other R744 system components on a major EV platform this year, basically as I speak right now. The heat pump development history of Hanon Systems, described in the blue middle section, also shows our involvement as early as 2002. So 18 years of development work have given us a leading edge in developing and supplying heat pump systems, the future air conditioning and thermal management systems of basically all battery electrified vehicles. Earlier on, I showed you our position in the overall arena of automotive thermal systems. Now I want to take some time and focus on our success with the heart of the system, the e-compressor. Of the 4 key players I mentioned earlier, only 2 of them dominate the e-compressor market with a combined 67% or 2/3 of that business. And it gives me special pride and joy to say that with 25%, we hold the lead in the non-captive segment of this dynamically expanding market. When we look at what that means with regards to sheer product volumes, you can see that we will double our volumes within the next 2 years. Also due to the aforementioned introductions of the R744 ink compressor and the ultra-high voltage large displacement compressor. And by 2025, we will more than double our e-compressor volumes again, all the way up to 4.4 million units annually. So you see that the electrification wave throughout the automotive industry and our diverse customer base is showing its effect. I want to now show you some customer examples of where Hanon Systems supplies thermal management content. I alluded to this before. The Electrified platform, which also contains the R744 option, is the VW MEB platform, showing itself to the public with the initial introduction of the ID.3, the ID.4, the Audi Q4 e-tron, and the Skoda Enyaq. Our team also did a fantastic job of developing and introducing the battery thermal management system on the Porsche Taycan, and the Mercedes EQC and Jaguar's premium vehicles complement the presence of Hanon Systems in Europe. Traditionally, Hyundai has been launching its electrified vehicles with Hanon Systems components, and this customer is continuing to source thermal management system solutions from Hanon Systems for its battery EV dedicated platform, starting with the Ioniq brand. Our solid presence at Ford, the increasing share of Fiat Chrysler's electrified vehicles, as well as the Rivian R1T and the Lucid Air demonstrate the acceptance of Hanon Systems thermal management expertise in the Americas regions. NIO and Xiaopeng have also chosen Hanon Systems as their e-compressor supplier of choice in the marketplace of local Chinese EV startup automakers. These examples of electrified vehicle launches with Hanon content are a nice demonstrations of our new business wins track record. For the past 5 years, we have had a very consistent inflow of incremental new business, which even had a significant peak in 2019 due to a very large platform sourcing by one of our core customers. But what is even more important is the percentage of electrified content with this incremental business. It has been constantly growing from initially 5% back in 2015 to an anticipated 75 to 80% in 2020. The high percentage of electrification content in our incremental new business wins will result in a revenue growth path which will outperform the basic automotive market. This means that by 2025, Hanon Systems foresees to achieve around 10 trillion Korean won in revenue, with 40% of this revenue coming from electrified vehicles. And of course, we plan to do this while maintaining and enhancing our financial track record, which will be explained in a later section of this broadcast. With this outlook, it is now my pleasure to introduce Steve Clark, the Chief Technical Officer of Hanon Systems, who will give you a more detailed insight of the products and the product development capabilities of Hanon Systems. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nerdal. I'd like to talk about 2 main topics. The first is our global engineering capability, and the second is our great products with focus on technology for electric vehicles. We operate a global engineering network consisting of 3 innovation centers: our Europe Innovation Center, our Asia Pacific Innovation Center, and our Americas Innovation Center. In 2019, we acquired the fluid and pressure controls business of Magna, and thus added 6 new engineering sites shown in blue. This has accelerated our capabilities, especially in electrified products. Now, I'd like to give you a closer look at our innovation centers through our leaders at each site. We have a short 6-minute video. Please roll the video.
Hello, I'm Thomas Rosenbauer, the R&D lead for the Europe Innovation Center, which is located in Kerpen, Germany. The Europe Innovation Center has several main sites, including locations in the Czech Republic and 2 additional sites located in Bad Homburg, Germany and Campiglione, Italy, which were added in 2019. Key elements of the Kerpen site include a 6,500 square meters of component and system test space and a climatic wind tunnel for system and vehicle testing. Because of our success in e-compressors, the surge in demand for development and testing led us to establish a completely new test area. This was developed completely in-house to match the specific needs for e-compressor testing under certain conditions, such as heat pump mode. Because of the modular design, all stands are capable to run with all types of refrigerants, including R134A, R1234YF, R744, R290, as well as the various voltage levels that range from 48 to 800 volts. By application of modern simulation tools and the latest acoustic analysis techniques, sound characteristics and noise level of systems and components from Hanon Systems are optimized from concept development up to vehicle-tailored solution. Finally, the climatic wind tunnel is equipped with a 4-wheel chassis dynamometer, allowing vehicle speeds up to 250 km per hour. At the Europe Innovation Center, we are passionate in our efforts to deliver eco-friendly technologies that will help create a better world for future generations. Dankeschön.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown, R&D lead for the Americas. I'm here at the Americas Innovation Center in Novi, Michigan. Our other 2 main engineering sites in the Americas include Juarez, Mexico and Concord in Ontario, Canada, which was added in 2019. While Hanon Systems has been proudly serving automakers for decades, this location is relatively new, having opened in 2018. And we configured the site to fit our needs as a thermal and energy management supplier in terms of layout and workflow to drive efficiency. Here in our product showroom is where we proudly display our breadth of technologies, which are shared with customers during visits. And just a short walk from here is our laboratories. One major investment in the Americas Innovation Center surrounds system-level testing. The system durability stands are capable of testing complete thermal management systems over the simulated life of the vehicle. We will also be launching a state-of-the-art system test room that will be capable to run a number of configurations, including heat pump and dual or multi-loop thermal systems.
Our work and investment on noise, vibration, and harshness, or NVH, has provided us ample capacity and capability to conduct all of our testing in-house for all product lines. Our test procedures are based on global correlation and standardization in order to have alignment across regions.
In closing, Hanon Systems remains committed to focusing on high-impact investments to support the company's vision to be a leader in innovative thermal and energy management solutions. And in just a short time, the Americas Innovation Center itself and its people have proven our ability to improve on our expertise, execution, and delivery to really focus on the customer and their success. Thank you.
안녕하세요. I am Yunho Wang, R&D leader of the Asia Pacific Innovation Center located in Daejeon, South Korea. The Asia Pacific Innovation Center is well equipped with experienced engineers, to support the innovation of future solutions, as well as state-of-the-art capabilities to deliver program development and testing. In 2018, we have expanded our capabilities by opening up 2 new buildings dedicated to anechoic and electromagnetic compatibility testing. The 2-story anechoic building added 3 new chambers to the existing 5 at these locations. The soundproof and temperature-controlled anechoic chambers allow us to measure noise, vibration, and harshness across a wide range of operating conditions. We also have our climate window tunnel, which can simulate hot and cold conditions from -40 to 60 degrees Celsius. It is equipped with a 4-wheel chassis dynamometers, fan capable of generating wind speeds of up to 250 km per hour, temperatures and humidity controls, and the solar panels to simulate sunrise and sunset. Here at the Asia Pacific Innovation Center, we take pride in our effort to deliver automakers innovative thermal and energy management solutions and are driven to see our customer success. 감사합니다.
I hope that quick look into our innovation centers gave you a better idea of our global development capability. Here we outline our engineering spend and resource allocation. The left chart shows our R&D investment increasing from 2017 up to 2019, and we're maintaining the engineering spending this year even through the market downturn. On the right side of the chart outlines our engineering resources shift to electrification. We have increased from 40% of the engineering staff working on e-mobility products in 2017 to 56% in 2019 and project over 60% this year. Here's our full portfolio of products, including products for internal combustion engines, hybrid electric, battery electric vehicles, and products that cover all vehicle architectures. We've added 3 new EV products, shown in blue, to bolster our offerings to the automakers. This includes the engine cooling fan with a brushless direct current motor, a complete electric water pump lineup, and electronic oil pumps. This makes for a full portfolio of thermal and energy management components for electric vehicles. We also have a comprehensive portfolio of heat pump solutions, starting off with our first generation heat pump system, which has the attention of many OEMs around the world, and our one-way refrigerant loop system that uses less components, and our CO2 system, which Nerdal already mentioned, and our developing vapor injection system, which adds additional cooling capacity in nearly the same packaging size, and a new developing R290 system, which is propane-based and utilizes a secondary refrigerant circuit. If we take a closer look at our heat pump system technology, our production system shows the best performance for extending vehicle driving in cold climates. If you look on the right-hand side of the chart, we're now improving upon our production system by adding new technology features, such as a vapor injection compressor in our CO2 system, and other features focused on improving the EV driving range and cooling performance. I'd like to highlight our CO2 heat pump system, where we offer a complete portfolio of components. R744, or commonly called CO2, is a climate change neutral refrigerant. This system has outstanding heating mode operation all the way down to -30 degrees C, which can increase cold weather driving range by 50% over a base AC system. And in addition, the E-compressor offers outstanding performance through its low noise and vibration design. We're also expanding our electric compressor lineup. In addition to the 33cc compressor, we're adding a new large displacement compressor to meet the increased demand for cooling capacity driven primarily by fast EV charging requirements. And we have expanded the operating voltage to include 48 volts all the way up to 800 volts to make for a complete portfolio. There are three other technologies I'd like to highlight for electric vehicles. I mentioned on an earlier slide the brushless DC cooling fan motor. This reduces energy consumption, which is a key requirement on electric vehicles. We've also added a full lineup of electronic water pumps, both EV auxiliary pumps from 35 watts up to 250 watts, and hybrid primary pumps from 250 watts up to 1.8 kilowatts. We also have a full range of highly advanced refrigerant valves that incorporate both a shutoff feature and expansion feature into one valve, and this simplifies the refrigerant circuit. Vehicle cabin air quality has been very much in focus given the COVID-19 pandemic. We have developed an intelligent air quality system that consists of several components, including a semi-HEPA filter, a PM 2.5 sensor, which senses fine dust particles, and a visible ray LED photocatalyst that disinfects and deodorizes up to 99.9%. Our fuel cell air compressor is in production and on the world's first fuel cell heavy-duty truck. We're now working on our Generation 2.5 air compressor that will have increased power from 10 kilowatts up to 15 kilowatts, and at the same time, we are reducing mass from 14 kilograms to 11 kilograms. The result is a high capacity and very low mass air compressor. Now lastly, I'd like to talk about our technology awards. This is a sampling of our awards from the highly prestigious PACE organization and other prominent industry organizations. We are quite proud of these achievements because recognition, whether it's from the customer or from the industry, is one of the highest honors we can receive as a company. I want to thank you very much for listening. Now I'd like to turn it over to Min, who will talk about our global operations. Min?
Hi, my name is Min Sung, REO and Chief Operating Officer. And let me quickly run through the latest update on operations that's coping with the product technology shift from mechanical to electrified lineups. First, recapping on my manufacturing discipline of the footprint in 4 pillars. That's on the screen. There are as many as 51 manufacturing sites around the world producing different product lines. And since the separation from Visteon, we have been focusing on expansion of the new site in line of the growth, while restructuring and right-sizing of some of our legacy plants, which we have many times in the past updated you in the previous engagement. So this time, I would really like to introduce our activities around the electrified product expansion, as well as transformation of the existing manufacturing sites based on the increasing demand of the new products going forward. Obviously, electric compressor is critical one that's leading the technology shift and also requires a significant capex, especially in Europe and China, for the expected growth. As for Pamela, it is completed for the phase 1, and it is already preparing for phase 2, given the sold out of the installed capacity and increasing demand of higher tech version, such as ultra-high voltage and R744. Primarily for the European market, if you look to Asia, mainly China, we've also installed 1.1 million electric compressor capacity in order to support the local growth. But as always, the process and setup is fully optimized for the local economics, while the critical processes are completely identical across the board in all of our compressor manufacturing facilities. Next is the other key growth area for both ICE vehicles and EV vehicles, including hybrids. And this is obviously the area that Hanon Systems was lacking, but we closed the gap by acquiring Magna PNC, now Hanon Systems ENFP product group. Early in 2019, we had started installing an additional capacity for Hanon Systems immediately after transaction, not to miss the last window of the initial wave of the BLDC shift. And that's already paying out as a confirmed growth through 2025 and still winning more volume given the synergy of Hanon Systems' legacy fan and shroud with the new BLDC motor, and it is further expanding as part of the China market growth out of our Changzhou plant. Lately, there's a huge recognition of the heat pump system, and we're very proud of the new Bell technology, which will be introduced first from Alba, Hungary plant, leveraging off of the precision machining and assembly expertise in that plant, as it requires highly sophisticated controls in order to produce good quality parts. And that's why we expect to have a strong market leadership for a very long time. Just like the electric compressor business, we have a strong penetration through a joint venture partner for the China market. And it's very strong in terms of local market demand. I think many of you remember Ilava as HVAC and heat exchanger, mainly for Hyundai Europe. But in this case, Ilava this time acted as a pilot plant for the battery management system for a leading German OEM for the highly sensitive product that's very weak to warpage, and it is only assembled by robots without any human interventions. Watch the video of the respective process for a moment, as I think it is pretty amazing. Finally, I personally like these cases the best, as we have not only avoided restructuring, but also completely transformed the manufacturing plant to the futuristic setup for long-term viability, which otherwise would have faced continuous downsizing till closure. First, ENFP Monterey plant, which came with the acquisition of Magna PNC, as a primarily old mechanical water pump and vacuum pump with a shrinking order book. But upon Hanon Systems takeover, we have successfully turned it around to an electronic water pump plant, including the transfer of the existing Hanon Systems T&E business from Coclisa, Mexico for maximum synergy. Here's the video again.
Hello, I am Eduardo Treviño, Managing Director of the Hanon Systems EFP Monterrey in Mexico. You may know the EFP Monterrey plant was part of the fluid pressures and control business of Magna, acquired by Hanon Systems in 2019. I will describe the time that followed as a smooth integration for us. We were able to quickly adapt to the new processes and systems with no customer disruption. And today, we produce and ship more than 5 million end items each year to many of the world's major automakers. In the short time since we joined Hanon Systems here at the EFP Monterrey plant, we are experiencing a transformation to our operations. Where originally we were focused almost solely on mechanical solutions, we consolidated manufacturing from another Mexico operation that allow us to accelerate our transformation into the regional hub of electronic water pumps with our strategic investments to support electric vehicles. This action yields a cost synergy by reducing fixed costs, allowing us to achieve economies of scale, and generates more than 200% increase in electronic water pump production over the next 3 years. I speak for everyone here at the plant when I say, I am proud to be part of a company that supplies solutions for electric vehicles. It is rewarding to know our efforts are helping the environment and building a better future.
Certainly, I saved the best for last, and it is Charleville, France, the last Ford legacy plant in our business portfolio. This plant has been on our closure list from Ford, Visteon, and Hanon Systems till just 4 or 5 years ago. But now it seems like it's going to stay around us for a very long time in the future as it's transitioning from an old plastics molding and assembly at a very high labor cost to now efficiently automated for the EV battery systems manufacturing. So this wraps up the operational update, and thanks for listening of operational section, and I really appreciate your attention. And I'll turn it over to Subu for the financial update.
Thank you, Min. Hello, everyone. I'm Subbu Nagasubramani, Vice President and Chief Financial Officer at Hanon Systems. Thank you for joining us today in this virtual conference, and thank you for your attention during prior sessions where our leaders talked about market forces, growth, product technology, leadership, and the transformation of our global operations. Here in this session, I will take you through the financial status of the company. Before I get to the third quarter results, I would like to quickly recap as to how we got here. Looking back at the last 7 quarters, you can see there are predominantly 3 major factors that are driving us forward. First, the acquisition of electronics and fluid pressure business in April 2019. This resulted in significant growth in our business while also helping us to complement our thermal product portfolio. This also helped us increase the xEV content. The resulting synergies helped us improve our competitiveness. Second, increasing share of xEV revenue driven by the conversion of the order book into sales. And the third factor, the record of the market in quarter 3 of this year with revenues reaching pre-COVID levels. This has also helped improve our margins, especially with the cost-saving efforts that are underway. I will talk about that in a minute. The figures here are adjusted for one-time impact of around 20 billion Korean won in both EBITDA and operating income. Let me get to more specifics of quarter 3 financials. The revenue grew by approximately 2.2% over quarter 3 of 2019, indicating the market recovery is now real. The revenue growth over last quarter was more significant at 60%. This is driven by the fact that we hit the bottom during quarter 2 like everyone else in the industry. Against 2019 quarter 3, after accounting for the one-time impact of 2020, quarter 3 EBITDA improved by 130 basis points. The operating income improved by 50 basis points year over year. If you normalize the one-time impact, the operating income improved 160 basis points against 2019 quarter 3. This is a significant year-over-year margin growth. This was made possible through major cost improvement actions, part of which is also expected to flow through into the following quarters. I'll talk about that more in a bit. So here are the major highlights of quarter 3. Apparently, the market is bouncing back and electrification is gaining momentum. Electrified product revenue is now 19% of our total sales. This is good news for Hanon Systems. With improving scale of xEV products, Hanon Systems' competitiveness also improves. But the major story here is that our operating margins have improved year over year, as I already explained. As the volumes get back on track and capacity utilization reach previous levels, the cost-saving actions that we undertook as part of our COVID response is beginning to show in the improved bottom line. As we shared in our Q2 earnings call, at the outset of COVID-19, Hanon Systems initiated a focused effort to improve our cost structure. All aspects of cost were put to scrutiny. This included personnel costs, discretionary expenses, and other operating costs. The overall cost savings in 2020 is expected to be over $200 billion, with almost 50% of that flowing through to next year. We also made some good progress on net debt reduction against Q2, which is primarily driven by trade working capital improvement as well as better cash flow from operations. I will explain that more in detail later. Now let me give you a quick update on the CapEx and R&D expenditures and the depreciation and amortization for the year 2020. We have increased the CapEx outlay from previous guidance by about 20 billion Korean won. This is primarily due to the fact that we are seeing some acceleration of EV launches. As you can see, the peak CapEx years are behind us now. It is expected to come further down and stabilize over the next couple of years. The D&A at 470 billion is an increase of 90 billion from last year. The rate of increase will slow down starting 2021 and then gradually stabilize. We undertook some improvements in R&D cost structure, which is reflected here in 2020, but the R&D spending will continue to be more or less comparable going forward. Let me also briefly touch on the balance sheet. 3 key points I want to stress here. Our cash position at the end of Q3 is close to 1 trillion Korean won. With available credit lines, the liquidity level is quite strong at around 1.4 trillion Korean won. This was due to our conscious decision to secure sufficient liquidity during these uncertain times. You will see this getting back to normal levels as the market regains certainty. Secondly, trade working capital improved over 200 billion Korean won quarter over quarter. This was made possible by improved inventory control and tight management of trade receivables and payables. This is expected to continue to improve further in Q4. Finally, we expect to control the net debt level within just 100 to 150 billion about 2019 levels. This is a result of our disciplined trade working capital management and the improved cash flow from operations in the second half of the year. This, I believe, is a very significant achievement, especially in the year with the given market situation. Please keep in mind that at the same time, we continue to invest in our future and maintain reasonable shareholder return as the momentum continues. We expect to take further improvements on the net debt EBITDA ratio, tending below 2 turns by the end of year 2021. Now to speak about shareholder returns, we have maintained 68 won per share dividend in the Q3. This amounts to a total of 204 won per share for the year so far. At this point, it's a 15% reduction from the prior year. However, just a quick reminder here that at the outset of COVID-19, due to the volatility in the market, we initiated a share buyback program to support the share price. You are familiar with the details of that already. As you would agree, after the initial period of uncertainty, the share price has pretty much bounced back to pre-COVID levels or slightly better. So most of that fund remains unused at this point. We will call them back at the appropriate time, and which could then become part of our Q4 dividend payout, bridging the gap to the previous year level. As for the 2020 full year financial guidance, I have not included anything further update here. You already have this from our Q2 earnings call. And as I see it, we may have some upside to those numbers. Keep fingers crossed. In the final section of my presentation, I also want to take the opportunity to give you a quick update on our longer-term outlook. As you can see here, the new business backlog continues to be healthy at around $11.7 billion. Over the last years, we had record business wins, which we see now converting to real sales. I expect the backlog to stabilize around this level for the coming years. It's quite notable here that the xEV revenue backlog at around 70% continues to be quite healthy, and the customer diversification beyond HMG and Ford well on track. As a result of this backlog, we will continue to grow our top line at a very healthy rate, which I will explain in my final slide. From a base revenue of 7.2 trillion Korean won in 2019, we expect to grow to 9 trillion in 2023 and then reach around 10 trillion in 2025. This is a CAGR of approximately 5.7%, which is well above the market growth rate. Our best estimate considers the booked business, the latest market forces, including the pace of the COVID recovery, and future electrification roadmap. I would like to reiterate here that our technology leadership is a key aspect that is helping us to maintain such growth levels. You can also see that the EBITDA margins are expected to reach a healthy 14%, driven by increasing scale and major cost improvement initiatives. I believe this is a quite compelling story on profitable growth. That brings me to the end of my session as well as the presentations today. Hope we are able to give you a good picture of Hanon Systems' current status and the growth trajectory going forward. Thank you once again for your attention, and thank you for your continued support to Hanon Systems.